Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And today we've got a very full itinerary for you on this episode. We're going to take a look at the NFL Top 100 list, give you our snubs, our overranked players. Then we're going to go and give you a consensus top 10 list that we conjured up. And then we're going to go and talk about the Olympics a little bit. And we're going to give you a Olympics sport draft. We've got 4 rounds, and we're each going to pick our favorite sports in the Olympics. Should be a very fun episode. But before we get into it, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday evening?
Doing pretty good. We got the official first week of preseason today, Thursday, that being Thursday. So I'm excited to watch the Panthers in action. I'm excited to watch. You know what I realized today? They have Felipe Franks and Jordan Matthews in their tight ends room. So I'm pumped to watch.
Theo, how are you excited for Browns Packers?
Of course I'm excited for that as well. We got a full slate. Drake May versus Felipe Franks. Tyrone Tracy versus Mekhi Wingo. We got
Dorian Thompson-Robinson
versus the entire Packers organization.
That's true. All of Green Bay, they're saying.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. I got my first episode of my new podcast with Pro Football Network. Your Opinion with Theo Ash dropped. So go listen to that as well as
Theo's
this.
Cheating on us. You know,
that show is why I couldn't say what I wanted to say last episode, Matt, because I wanted to give the Packers take.
Well, my fault.
It's okay. It's okay. I thought being sly about it ended up being
people thought it was
content.
so funny. I saw a comment that was like Matt trying to pry Theo to say the Packers are the best team in the NFC is like trying to out someone's middle school crush.
I just read you like a book. I'm sorry.
What can I say?
But my
I do love
Wednesday's been fine. I haven't done anything.
You haven't done anything? You woke up. That's something.
You were streaming, I saw.
Yes.
Did you take a lot of dubs?
So I've been Navy. I'm doing a Navy rebuild on Heisman, and we're trying to be like honestly like Navy. I'm not going to throw 5 times a game, but I'm also like not running my regular offense, and I have to keep their playbook. Started out 2-5, and we're 4-6 now. And I'm for sure 100% guaranteed to keep my job next year. So it's a building process, you understand, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm playing the game anyway, so I figured I'd stream it on Twitch.
So check that out.
Yeah, Spawn Hour.
Check out Matt's screen-only offense. Luke Getsy, they're calling him.
Were you watching it all?
No, I was not catching.
Okay, because unironically, it's all runs and screens. I'm not kidding. Like I probably threw like
I wasn't watching it. I was living it on Tuesday on our Madden Live. I was blocking. I didn't get a single screen either, and my camera is locked, so I would be like Adam Thielen. We're playing as the Panthers, and I'm running downfield, and it's a screen to Blaiden, and because my camera is locked, I couldn't see what was happening on the play because I wasn't even in the play, and then the play would just keep going and going and going, and eventually I just saw a touchdown on my scoreboard with absolutely no idea what happened. We're over here
clowning Matt for an all-screen offense, but every time he called a screen, we scored.
It's a slip screen where you kind of roll out, and sometimes you can just like keep it, but you almost work it like an option. Is an amazing play. It's been working fantastically for me. I'm not that good at college football 25. But I've been kind of killing it online a little bit. I won't lie.
There you go.
I might stream some online play at some point. But at the same time, when I go up against somebody who's like really knows their shit, and I'm out there on the goal line running a screen, it gets ugly. I won't be untruthful.
The running a screen inside the 5 is what gets me. That's just such a ballsy call,
dude. It works though. It's a really good It's nonsense and it's garbage, but it works, man.
I like my favorite play call on the goal line. I think spacing is always open. Just
stick. Yeah. That's the type of stuff that I run.
Slants, no. I don't like slants on NCAA. I'm always throwing picks on that.
You can audible, like, because you think about like the regular stick play sort of or whatever. Audible that into a whip route on College Football 25. The whip routes are really, really good.
I always like to run some like almost like a chopped down version of levels or flood, where like you can have a crosser coming across, but like I want like one guy wide, just like sitting in the corner, one guy running like a really shallow out, and that's all I want. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. All good things. What do you? I before we get into the top 100 and talking about some underranked and overranked players and all that, what do you make of the Brandon Ayuk situation? We haven't talked about it at the level it has risen to in the last 2 days. I don't think I've ever seen a trade rumor quite like this one, where he wants to go out of San Francisco. He wants a new deal, but he seemingly does not want to go anywhere that they can trade him to. I guess there's no real take on it until something happens, but I don't know. Any reaction?
My take has always been that the best landing spot would be New England. Just because they would almost certainly be able to give him whatever he wants. He would be treated like a true number one. And then it's also gives the Patriots a much needed receiving threat that they have lacked for a while. So I think
I totally agree.
Division with Drake May, but I have to agree. That's where I would personally want to go. I get not wanting to go to the Steelers with Arthur Smith and like no quarterback plan at all. I think that's totally valid. But I mean, overall, my takeaway is that this is not great for the 49ers because they're going to be losing a good player. And I disagree. And I really wonder if Ayuk, like if you were to rank all of the 49ers stars who are good enough to get like big time money, where does Ayuk rank? It is certainly not last. And honestly, like it's probably pretty high, to be real with you.
He's not probably what, fifth? That's what I'm Warner, Williams, McCaffrey, Bosa.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else you would put over him? I don't know.
Maybe Kittle. Maybe Purdy.
I'd rather have Ayuk.
Purdy doesn't count. That's different.
He's a quarterback. It doesn't.
It is different. It's a whole nother animal.
Ayuk. I mean, I said this on Twitter, but whatever happens, they need a first round pick for him, because not only is he such a good route runner and ball tracker and yak threat, he's also the best blocking receiver like in the league. He's elite at it, at digging people out. Setting a good edge for McCaffrey to run to in these wide zone plays. Like he can really crack down on you. And I just don't think Ricky Pearsall is the same. I know they kind of have a succession plan. They re-upped on Juwan Jennings and they drafted a first round receiver, but like, I think Ricky Pearsall was overdrafted in the first round, and like, he's got the willingness to block, but like he already has the willingness and all the want to, and isn't that good at it because he's small. And I think just overall, he's just not nearly as athletic and as formidable as Ayuk is. So, man, if you're not getting a first-round pick for a player that complete, I completely agree with you, Blaiden. When I saw the Patriots in the mix, I was like, oh, boy, because that's the type of situation that could really supercharge May. And I feel like that would be a very good marriage for both sides, it would be much like the Diggs edition to me, or the Brown edition. So we'll see what happens there. Like, obviously, I've seen a billion different reports, like confirmed reports, like people saying.
That's the thing is, like, what's even real at this point? I don't even know what's real. So it's so hard to track.
Ricky is up. I'll say that, because it started as like, oh, he wants to go to the Browns. He wants to go or they have a deal in place with the Browns, and they have a deal in place with the Patriots. But recently, it seems like people are kind of backtracking and saying the Steelers are kind of the last team standing. So that's the latest I've heard on it. But like you say,
For those
Brandon Ayuk
that aren't watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, we're just like shrugging our shoulders, looking ominously at the camera.
Yeah. Who knows what could happen? But
hey, let's get into these. Let's get into this top 100 discussion. I'll say before we even get into our snubs, because that's what we're going to talk about first. The top 100 always gets criticism every time it drops. Everyone says that the players don't know ball. So at some point we need to have the discussion of like, why do the players seem to rank things so differently? Theo, I see you've already got an idea on your head. What are you thinking?
It's because when the players get the ballot, they only get 20 names. Yes. And I think they're told to rank who had the best season last year, but I think there's a lot of confusion on that. But they don't rank the full top 100. So every name that you see could be like reasonably selected as a top 20 season. And I feel like that's the big disconnect where like people think some role players are underrated or someone didn't quite perform to the level that they actually are because of their supporting cast. Like people always complain about situations like that. But the fact of the matter is, like Brock Purdy was a number one MVP candidate into December last year. And a lot of players are going to take that to mean he had a top 20 overall season, even if you don't actually think he is the 27th ranked player in the league. Yeah. Like he has more of a case to land on someone's top 20 seasons than maybe like, I don't know, whoever you like does, like Quinnen Williams.
But I also don't think that's like a bad methodology necessarily, because you have to account for the fact that a lot of players are just going to pick their buddies or like their teammates. Like if you're thinking about, the 49ers, right? If we're talking about Brock Purdy, you hand Fred Warner a ballot. Who's he going to put on there? Himself, Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, like all of those guys are getting on that list. And then maybe some sleeper 49ers guys that are on there as well. And that's probably how it's going to go for every single guy that they hand that ballot to.
Yeah, I think there's also maybe a little bit too much pressure put on this, where you have to realize that the players like, dude, they don't give a fuck, man. Like, this is not that big of a deal to them, dude. They're being handed this sheet while they're at the Pro Bowl, and they're like given a pen, and they're like, all right, top 20, like, let me write this down. And then like we're sitting back here as Twitter users saying, this guy was 2 spots too low. What were you guys thinking? And it's like, I don't know, man. And they're also biased like us, like a guy coming off a productive season is going to be ranked really high, Yeah. And some of them are like not thinking in terms of the last season. And some of them are just thinking like overall in the NFL. That's how you end up with guys who played half a year on this list. And that's perfectly fine.
Or like George Pickens ranking Aaron Rodgers like 5th on his ballot. He just got his list and is like, I grew up watching Aaron Rodgers, I'm putting him top 5. And then it's like, that doesn't really fit the criteria. But again, he was just kind of handed something and filled it out and put Rodgers really high.
And this list favors vets as well, likely because of just name recognition and because of guys that you think of off the top of your head. And then there's positional bias as well. I mean, I'm going to say this personally for my snubs and my overrated list. I just completely avoided quarterbacks. Guys, there's like 12 quarterbacks on this list, maybe more. I didn't
count. There's 16.
Okay, obviously too many. Now I could sit here and be like, Aaron Rodgers didn't play last year, and he's on the list for best seasons last year. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Oh, here's Kirk Cousins, who played half a year and is like not a top 100 player. That doesn't make any sense. But I figured that was just a pointless exercise. So I avoided quarterbacks. There's a few, that you can make good points about, but I think in general, I didn't want to go all QBs because it'd be too easy. So they're not on my list.
Yeah, the quarterbacks, it's kind of it's a forgivable thing to just ignore, because one of the big things that everybody was mad about was like Tua over Burrow. But if you're handed a list and you're asked who had the top 20 seasons last year, you're probably going to put the passing yards leader on there. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't think that he's a top 10 quarterback, but you could very easily say that he had a top 20 overall season last year, especially in the players' eyes, because all the players want to lead the league in yards. Like, that's a goal of theirs. That's a dream of theirs. Like, that's what they set out to do. So when the guy does it, it doesn't matter how it happened. Like, he's going to get lots of top 20 seasons rankings. And I'm like, overall, not that mad about that. And I think it's important to look at this list through that lens. Like, yeah, it's not just a full 100 players list ranked in order from most skillful to least skillful. And it also makes sense, like, why Tyreek Hill is number one and Lamar Jackson is above Mahomes, because for every accolade that is handed out in every sport, people look at regular season success. And if your list is who had the best 20 seasons last year, it's like the voters thought the same thing as the player voters, which is Lamar had a better season than Patrick Mahomes, so he got ranked ahead.
Yeah, and Lamar was the MVP. He was first team All-Pro.
It's not that crazy. And now, obviously, I would put Mahomes number one in the league. But did he have a better season last year than Lamar? I think with the playoff results, it'll go down in history. But for a lot of awards, that isn't really taken into account. So I think it's forgivable.
Hey, everyone. You know there's nothing like spending a summer day at the ballpark, right? I mean, one of my favorite memories is seeing my very first Grand Slam at a Reds game last summer. And this year, I'm excited to make even more memories. And I found the perfect way to do it with an app called Game Time. Did you know that Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball? It makes getting tickets faster and easier than ever. And the best part, prices on Game Time actually go down as it gets closer to the first pitch. How awesome is that? And I've been browsing the Game Time app, and there are some incredible deals on upcoming MLB games. For instance, I saw a great deal on tickets for the Yankees versus Red Sox game next weekend. The process is so simple, just a few taps and you're in. One of my favorite features is the views from your seat option. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting before you buy. Plus, Game Time offers killer last minute deals, all in prices with no hidden fees and a lowest price guarantee. They even have event cancellation and job loss protection, which is huge for peace of mind. If you're a last minute planner like me, you'll love the flash deals and zone deals where you can save up to 60% on tickets, and the all-in pricing is a game changer. You see the total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BLAIDENK, BLAIDENK, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code BLAIDENK for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
But there are still players that should have been on the list.
There are. Can I start with a little bit of a 2-for-1 here?
Yes.
Let's start by Matt. I have the list of how many positions were taken, or how many players were taken at each position. So that's how I knew the quarterback won. Do you know how many guards were on this list?
2.
Two.
Wow.
2 guards, Theo. And they had Zach Martin, which that's fine. They had Chris Lindstrom. That's fine. No Joe Tooney, no Joel Bitonio. Man, that breaks my heart because both of those guys are outstanding. Joe Tooney's a first-team All-Pro player. Joel Bitonio has been one of the top guards in the league for a while. I think it's pretty ridiculous to leave both of those guys off this list.
Yeah, and Tyler Smith, that's a name I wrote down.
Tyler Smith's another one.
Frank Ragnow had a fantastic season in the interior. And that's where I think you can really start to criticize these players is ignoring the offensive line completely.
And here's what kills me about it. It's the Pro Bowl guys voting on it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's offensive linemen there. It's like, bros, you got to band together here and get some more of you on the list. If I'm an offensive lineman, I'm just putting my top 20 offensive linemen. I'm just picking all the Pro Bowlers, saying, sure, these are the guys, dude. Yeah. I mean, I understand. Honestly, it's one of the disappointing things to me about this list. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think the players are stupid. But it would be cool if we saw maybe a little bit less positional bias from the players who are actually in the game going up against some of these great offensive linemen. But really you don't see that much of it. In fact, if you're asking somebody who like is just on Twitter to maybe make a top 100, I honestly think you'd end up with more offensive linemen, if anything. So it's not crazy. I get how it happened. I don't think it's because the players believe that these guys suck. And again, like the first thing that's coming to their mind is not offensive linemen. Like it wouldn't for anybody, but I agree that those guys are underrated.
Yeah, I think it's really criminal. Although I will say there were 7 offensive tackles. So it wasn't just like completely void of offensive linemen, but I'm not even seeing anything for centers. I don't know if...
No, if Kelsey didn't retire, he'd probably be on there. But yeah, not a single center.
But of course, that's so interesting. It's like...
So no Linderbaum either.
Last year, but we can't put Kelsey on because he retired.
Well, Donald's on. Donald's on the list.
Wow, that's true. So they just didn't put Jason Kelsey on there, man.
Yeah. There certainly deserve to be more interior offensive linemen, specifically Tyler Smith, who was just like an absolute steamroller all of last season. Ragnow, like I already mentioned, he was dealing with injuries, and so was Batonio. But I feel like especially Ragnow is just the centerpiece for that. Well, obviously the centerpiece, he's the center, but like the offensive line was not nearly the same without Ragnow, and that's the most famous, like the most dominant offensive line in the sport right now. It was a lot more pedestrian without Ragnow, and absolutely everything that he is able to do. Like he's so big. Creed Humphrey, right?
Creed Humphrey, Linderbaum,
like absolutely no recognition for any of these guys. Like, maybe
it's sad shit, man.
But they'll put on 10 wide receivers, and
they had. Do you guys want to know Theo? I don't know if you're looking at the same list I am. It's 20 wide receivers, 16 quarterbacks, 14 edge, 10 safeties. Those were the top 4 positions.
Shout out safeties. That surprises me a little bit that there were 10 of them, but yeah, all those guards, no doubt. I got another though, and it's been pretty public. But Jalen Johnson not being on there is absolutely ridiculous. The number 1 ranked corner for them was Jalen Ramsey. And like he was really good last year. He was really good when he was healthy last year, but he missed half the season.
And we could just put this, maybe wrap this in one thing, because several of my snubs are cornerbacks. McDuffie also should have been on here.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I had McDuffie also.
Not even on there. And I'll be real with you, Sauce coming in at 38 is nuts. There is absolutely no way he should be that low. Including, I understand maybe they just discounted cornerbacks overall, but coming below Ramsey, wrong. Just don't think that's true. And being below Bland, I just disagree. I was trying to theorize why that could possibly be that he would come that low. And I guess maybe it's Ramsey has the most name recognition of any great cornerback because he's been doing it for so long. Fair. And Bland had a level of production that no other cornerback had. So it's possible that those two things are what moved Sauce to third, and then the number low, or the fact that he's just kind of low is due to the fact that cornerbacks overall were underrated. But I also wonder if there's any players out there who really buy into the he always holds stuff.
Every receiver probably.
I mean, that's something we have to think about as well. If wide receivers are ranking guys, do you think they're going to rank corners that they don't like playing against?
Well, that's interesting because wouldn't corners be doing the same thing? Or are you theorizing that receivers look at corners and say, those guys suck, and corners look at wide receivers and say, honestly, those guys are pretty great. Yeah, that guy's pretty tough to guard. Because I feel like that's how you would end up with, I have no idea how many corners it was, maybe 4, 5, and then 20 receivers.
I don't think there are as many tier 1 or top tier corners as there are top tier receivers. I think there are probably more great receivers, but not 15 more on a list of top 100. That's pretty insane.
I just don't understand, like, moving back to Jalen Johnson here. I just don't understand what happened. Like, I thought it was pretty well documented throughout the course of the season, the caliber of season that he was having. Now, in Eberflus's defense, he's not like locked in a lot of man coverage but like that's a lot of defenses. Like, not a lot of them do that. He was in off, he was reading things, he was jumping on them, or he's playing like the flat in cover 2 and like sunk and got some interceptions. But he had plenty of production on the ball. He had 4 picks. He was FTN Fantasy has the DVOA rankings now, not Football Outsiders, but he was there ranked number 1 corner in terms of productivity when he was targeted. Like, no one had a better season than him, and he wasn't. I think he was 100% correct to call it bullshit that Rodgers made it over him, who didn't even play a snap. And like, meanwhile, these players are acting like, okay, Sauce and Gardner didn't maybe have the seasons they were billed to have, and Ramsey was hurt half the year, but I guess he's first because he really lived up to the hype when he came to be healthy. But it's like, what about Jalen Johnson? Like, what's wrong with his season? It was kind of spotless from start to finish last season. So
here's my question: how many Bears players made the Pro Bowl?
I don't know.
Probably not that many. Maybe DJ Moore did. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Sweat would have.
It doesn't feel like that would be enough to sway against Jalen Johnson, a first team All-Pro, being on the top 100 entirely.
Yeah, I do think, like, one of my main things was, if you are a first team All-Pro player, you should be on this list. Like, there's no excuse for that.
I agree, unless there's some weird dichotomy between like the players and the media, on specifically him. Like, do the players think he's overrated? Like, I don't know. They should be forced to answer. Like, why not? But we'll bring Jordan Love on the show, and we'll ask him, what's it like throwing against Jalen Johnson?
I have a couple of more disagreements. One more position I want to talk about as far as snubs goes. I will say Justin Jefferson at 18 is too low. I feel like they gave other guys who missed some time bigger, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, bigger breaks than they gave Jefferson, who is like clearly a top 10 player in the NFL, undebatably, and we didn't need to see him do anything this year to prove that. And if they're putting 20 receivers in the top 100, DJ Moore absolutely should have been on there. I don't think there's any question about that. DJ Moore is clearly a top.
Yeah, I mean, there's
20 wide
saying
receiver.
that DJ Moore isn't a top 20 receiver is pretty crazy. I didn't even think about that.
And he's coming off a very good year. He's coming off like a 1,300 yard season. I just don't think he has great press because he's been playing for the Panthers for a long time. Just to be completely honest, like, that's totally it. He's awesome. He's dope. He is easily top. I mean, I don't know who like the last receiver on. See, it was Terry McLaurin, who's a Buckeye, so I'm not going to say that he didn't deserve to be on there. Devontae Smith is next. I'm not going to say that either. Like, I don't know. Are we taking DJ Moore over DK Metcalf? I think I probably would.
Yeah, we had that debate. Cooper Kupp also.
It's close. Yeah.
I mean,
Kupp. The next one's Garrett Wilson. Damn.
I mean, Moore had a better season than all those guys. So
yeah. I mean, it's another Buckeye. It's too many Ohio State players for me to call, but like, dude, okay, we could just DJ Moore is better than Terry McLaurin.
Yeah,
he is. I agree.
I will disagree with you on one thing, though, Matt. I think Jefferson is appropriately rated on this list.
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers made it without playing entirely.
That's fair. But like, if I were making a top 100, I wouldn't put Jefferson in my top 10, just based on last year.
I would. I think you have to take into account the fact that not everybody is doing just off of last year, clearly, and Jefferson is just so obviously a top 10 player.
I mean,
just a layup.
And you talk about like, okay, he didn't have the total numbers last season, but he did have like 1,000 yards in 9 games.
Yeah, like he was awesome.
Which is
he was awesome. But like,
so it's like he was a top 10 player last year.
I don't know, man. I don't think you can be a top 10 player and not play the whole season. Like, was he better than Fred Warner last year? Was he better than CeeDee Lamb last year? Was he better than Josh Allen or
when he was playing, yes.
Sure. But like,
so maybe. I mean, again, he kind of was when he got the opportunity. I get what you're saying, like, as
and it's like, I don't want to.
So there's no real wrong answer here, but
I don't want to sit here and debate semantics because I think that's kind of lame. But like, that would be my one disagreement is I do think you have to take some account of like, well, he did miss half the season and like he played great when he was on the field, but like, I don't know.
And he is a top 10 player. Like for
in
sure,
general, yes. In general, yes. But like, if
Amari Cooper should have been there too as a top 20 receiver over some of the guys that got
Amari
on.
Cooper made the list. Yeah.
Okay.
I would have brought it up. Don't worry.
Never mind. Never mind.
Do we want? I don't know if you guys have any other snubs left.
I got one.
Okay.
I was trying to think about it from the. Well, I got 2 maybe. Where's Justin Tucker?
Yeah, I was hoping that we could get through this segment without bringing him up, so I could be like, notice how you guys didn't bring up Tucker. Notice how the actual players in the real NFL who like actually know ball, they don't care about Justin Tucker.
Real talk, AJ Cole should have been on it. He's averaging 50 yards a punt.
Where should have been on it? I've been saying that.
Where was his Raiders teammates giving him some love? I guess maybe there weren't enough of them at the Pro Bowl.
No special teams love this year is very upsetting.
I know. But the other guy that I have as someone who could realistically be listed in the top 20. Okay, so not someone who's like clearly the 80th best, but someone who you could legitimately argue is a top 20 player last year, kind of the same realm of argument as Justin Jefferson being higher. You could have put A-Chain in there as a top 20 season just because he was so unbelievably efficient. I think if you're going purely off the 2024 season, him leading the league and having such a productive year in the yards per carry category could have gotten him some votes because he was really off the charts efficient when he was in. So he was one more guy that I could have seen.
I kind of mess with that take. I'm not surprised that he didn't. I mean, he's literally only played like 8 NFL games. It's going to be pretty tough to do and get your way onto this list with the player recognition. But I think he's going to be awesome next year. I've turned it around. I think I had him as a fantasy guy I wouldn't go after. I think that's wrong. I think he's so sick. He's so good. Maybe he gets banged up, but I totally agree. He was doing special stuff last year. So I don't know if I blame the players for not putting him on there, but I can kind of see it. How many running backs made it total?
5.
Yeah, if we're doing 5 running backs, then I'd say maybe he wouldn't be in my 5 first
McCaffrey,
running backs.
I know Derrick Henry made it.
Saquon. Yeah. Kyron Williams made it.
Yes.
Who is super productive. I don't know. We don't have to go through the entire list.
Kyron might have been another guy who's too low, if I remember correctly.
I think as long as he's on there, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he was at 78. I feel like he could have been. I mean, he was really.
I have to disagree. I don't think Kyron Williams is a top 50 player.
Really?
Yeah, if he was number 100, I wouldn't say how could they rank him there? I'd be
Fair
okay.
enough. Fair enough. They should have put Nick Chubb on though. They're going to put Aaron Rodgers on.
Fair.
I could
like I said, he has he doesn't have aura like that around the league where he can play 2 games and get that kind of respect. But in the same vein that Jefferson was ranked 18, missing 10 games, I think A-Chain could have been ranked for what he did in a short amount of time. But I digress. Is there anybody on the list that maybe you thought was a bit of a polar bear?
Yep. I got a guy.
Go for
No
it.
Jalen Johnson, no Trent McDuffie, Tyreek Woolen made it. Absolutely ridiculous. Hell no.
I love Tariq Woolen. You're right.
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, and here's why that I think is the worst one. If he was at 91 and they had 12 corners on here, and it's like he had an awesome rookie year, and there's some name recognition there, and they maybe like weren't discounting him that much for his off year. All right, I can get behind that. They put like 4 corners total on the list, and Woolen was one of them, and multiple first-team All-Pro players were not.
Yeah.
It is genuinely bizarre. Woolen's not the best corner on his own team. And
Correct.
I think giving him this much grace is, I don't know, it's just so against the logic of the rest of the list. I think it's the most bizarre inclusion when you take everything into account. This easily should have been Jalen Johnson and McDuffie.
Oh, yeah. There's another bizarre Seahawk. I just don't understand getting a list of 20 names to fill out, and one of them being Julian Love.
Somebody on those guys banded together on that defense.
That's what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. This is what is happening. There is a pact that is forming, and it's like, yo, I'll put you number 1 if you put me number 1.
Bobby Wagner. He wasn't even in the 90s. He was like...
That's what I'm saying.
Because he's got some insane... Absolutely, those Seahawks guys, because at the end of the list, like if everybody's only doing top 20, you probably don't need that many super high votes to make number 100. Like there's just not going to be that many different guys receiving votes, probably. It's going to be pretty top heavy. So I think I wonder if a bunch of Seahawks guys are like, yeah, we're all going to put our name super high. I'm just listing out our defense, and that's how you get Tyreek Woolen and Julian Love
and Bobby Wagner.
You know, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's rough out here.
Was Geno Smith on the list?
No.
Yes, he was.
What?
Wait,
Was
maybe
he?
No
way.
It's hard to tell what is last year's and what is this year's.
Hold on.
But I just Googled that. Like, why couldn't they have at least stumped for the right guy?
Geno Smith was not on this year's list.
Okay, yeah. So they didn't even know. They don't even know their own team because like, where's Ken Walker and where's Geno Smith?
That's crazy.
These are the names I want to see.
Was Boye Mafe even on the list? That's
no, Boye Mafe wasn't on the list.
Oh, that might be another snub, honestly. If we're talking about
there's
14 edge rushers and Boye Mafe didn't make the cut, I don't know.
Dude, Will Anderson didn't make the cut, and neither did Grenard. I feel like Will Anderson was another snub.
Danielle Hunter made it.
Yeah, and that's to be expected, but no rookies none of the defensive rookie of the year candidates were on there, like Anderson or Carter or Kobe Turner in LA. And I feel like maybe if you're listing the top 20 seasons, just giving out all the accolades or winning an accolade could put you on that list. So I thought that was a bit of a weird snub was Anderson Jr., but
I agree.
At any rate,
I'm going to give a pretty bold, overranked player.
Okay.
Travis Kelce.
Okay. I can see it.
He just isn't the guy that he used to be. He turned it on in the playoffs, and I'll give him that. But like, they had him at what, 11? No, they had him at 9. Yeah, like he's not a top 10 player in the NFL. Like he's not. We can be honest that he's not a top 10 player. I would probably keep him on the list still, but maybe just outside the top 30.
That's incredibly big of you, bro.
I'm saying maybe just outside the top 30 or the top 40. Not top 10. Not 9.
9 is a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little
Then
bit.
I think by rule you got to have a problem with Chris Jones being at 6. Was Chris Jones for sure lock it in even the best defensive tackle in the regular season last year? Because clearly, like Kelce is getting a boost last year because he turned it on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the logic behind Chris Jones being.
I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine logic. But I would bump Kelsey down more than I would Chris Jones.
Yeah, me too. A significant amount. I think Kelsey is more overranked than Jones is.
Yes. Like, Jones would still be top 20 for me.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
So that's, I don't know. I guess we're, I don't know. I was kind of hoping that like one of you would disagree.
No. I mean, he didn't crack 1,000 yards last year. He had 5 touchdowns in the regular season. It was, I mean, he himself would say that he had his worst season, but then like he got healthy for the playoffs. He balled out. Obviously, that does a lot for you. But to say he's going to be a top 10 player all regular season next year, like probably not.
Right.
And I think same goes for George Kittle, who is still not better than Kelsey.
Yeah, I mean, George Kittle was at 14.
No way.
So telling me there were 3 tight ends on the list and 2 of them were in the top 20? I don't know.
You think Kittle is the 14th best player in the NFL?
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel like both of those guys need to be
him
lower.
over psychotic people, man. Better than, because I've seen your top 10 and I know there's at least 4 players left off of that list who are better than George Kittle. We are not doing this blocking crap right now, man.
I didn't put Kittle on my list.
I'm not saying that you did. I'm talking about there's somebody who's silent over here and grinning and struggling to get words out. No, I think Kittle is 14. No, he's not, man.
14 for George Kittle doesn't offend me. I do think he was the best tight end last year. What are these zombie noises?
Didn't George Kittle, wasn't he like trying to get mic'd up clips during the Super Bowl and like didn't get a fumble?
This isn't an aura ranking.
No, but that was like legitimately a bad play. Do you remember this?
Oh yes. Oh fuck yeah.
Dude, he's not top 14. I don't care, and I am offended by it. He's right ahead of CD Lamb, dude, isn't he?
How are you offended? He's below Kelsey, and you still have a problem.
No, they have him. No, I might be with Matt on this one pretty substantially. They have him over
above Micah Parsons, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Okay,
he is not better than Micah.
They have him over CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, Roquan Smith, C.J. Stroud, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think he deserves to be in these conversations at least. Like, I don't think he's a polar bear by any means. Micah is certainly underranked at 17, I would say. And he should be above Kittle, and so should Justin Jefferson.
He's not a polar bear in Texas. He's like a brown bear in Cincinnati. It's like it's like I guess
it would make the news. It would make the news.
Must have broken out of the zoo or something, or maybe traveled like a way long way.
It's a brown bear in Cincinnati. Oh my god. How about Debo at 30, man? Like, what about that? If we're gonna get mad about 49ers a bit maybe too high.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what keeps happening, right? The 49ers and the Seahawks, they both clearly did this.
Okay, the Seahawks can do it though. Like the Seahawks. I bet the Seahawks player ranked Fred Warner and Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams and Brock Purdy all top 10. Like, yeah, man, they probably did, and they probably should.
I'm saying why we're getting like Julian Love and Bobby Wagner on this list is because they all ranked their guys highly. But if you look at the 49ers, they clearly all did the same thing.
Okay, but everybody is going to give the 49ers players respect. Like, the Debo is the only one where I'm like, oh, maybe he's like a bit high, because Ayuk is 66. So that, like, everybody else is kind of fine to me. I don't think the 49ers are at the center of any conspiracy, except they have like just the most good players.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of good players at the Pro Bowl, and so you give yourself it gives you a natural boost, I think.
Debo is probably Debo is definitely too high. I mean, I don't know what receivers specifically are below him, but I wouldn't. Jamar Chase is below him.
DJ Moore not even on the list. Like Debo at 30.
Right.
Like is
right.
Puka Nacua.
But I'm more offended about Kittle. For bias reasons.
Fair enough.
I mean, Brown Bear in Cincinnati. Oh my God. That's gonna. The comments are gonna love that one.
Let's hope. I have a few more. I thought Josh Allen, the edge rusher, was a little too high. He was like 35. A lot of his production was sort of cleanup stuff. I don't know. I think they didn't have that many edge rushers ahead of him. Kind of in the same range as like Bosa and Parsons, and I think he's like a serious tier below that. And also Raheem Mostert being at 60, I think it makes him like the fourth back ranked. I get it, like I understand how that one happened. Like the production was crazy, he scored a lot of touchdowns, probably killed in a lot of dudes' fantasy leagues, but like he's not the fourth best running back.
Yeah, those two I both understand. It's like if you're going to rank the top 20, just because they had so much production. Like I get it. He almost broke the all-time like touchdown record, or did Mostert. So like I think it's fine if you.
And he also had that one crazy catch.
That one catch.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think the players know ball here for a second. Rashawn Gary at 50. I was surprised to see him that high. Good ranking for him, though. I was like, there we go. He only had 9 sacks, played like 50% of the snaps. High pressure rate as always, but didn't quite have eye-popping numbers. I think it would have been very easy to leave him completely off the list, but he deserves to be in the top 100. I don't know if that was a circumstance of Packers players banding together. Hope maybe it was, but I was a bit pleasantly surprised to see him that high when other like kind of young players who haven't maybe broken out totally fully yet get like completely snubbed.
Yeah. What was
also,
I going to say?
Patrick Queen shouldn't be 64.
Yeah, I thought
too
that
high.
was a little too high as well.
Yeah.
That's a value one. He's a good player, but yeah.
He's good, but like if we're ranking players you can pick on in the Ravens defense, like he's on that list.
Yeah.
He's on that list.
I had a joke primed and I forgot it.
Don't quit your day job for stand-up comedy then.
I think that might go to stand up and be like, I had a joke, but I forgot.
Give me some time. It's okay. Take all the time you need.
I remember it now. Okay. The NFL Top 100 is only bad when my favorite players aren't on there. It's not really a joke, more like a quip. I don't.
Guys, I have a quip. Hold on.
That one
is like, where are the Browns players?
No, it's about Theo's Rashawn Gary point. He was like, actually, NFL Top 100 not that bad. It would have worked better if I had remembered it when he was talking about Rashawn Gary.
Yes.
But now
anyway, let's perhaps move on.
Let's move on. Let's talk about, unless you guys have any more overranked guys, we can get into our consensus top 10 list. And I think we're just going to kind of run through this. We don't need to spend too long like over analyzing it because we've already talked about a lot of the rankings of some of these players. So the consensus list came in: number 1, Patrick Mahomes; number 2, Tyreek Hill; number 3, Myles Garrett; number 4, Christian McCaffrey; number 5, Lamar Jackson; number 6, Justin Jefferson; number 7, Micah Parsons; number 8, TJ Watt; number 9, Josh Allen, the quarterback; and number 10, Trent Williams. With CeeDee Lamb, Sauce Gardner, and Fred Warner being honorable mentions.
See, I put Justin Jefferson at 2, so the only thing that really surprises me is that he's at 6.
I didn't put Jefferson on my list at all because he missed like half the season.
Oh, come on.
He would be right outside. Like he would be in the top, like he'd probably be at like 15 or something. But like, I'm not going to put him over, like, in my top 10 over, like, who am I going to put him over? Who do you have, like, I don't know.
Who did you have?
My top 10 was Mahomes, Lamar, Tyreek, Garrett, McCaffrey, Parsons, Lamb, Watt, Williams, Warner.
Lamb? But Lamb,
what do you have, like 1,800 yards last year? Like
Jefferson better.
Yeah. But
okay, man.
Lamb did have a better season last year. It cannot be denied.
He was like an offensive player of the year caliber season. Like, I don't know what more you want him to do.
Well,
I think Tyreek Hill at 3 is interesting. And I think 2 quarterbacks, 1 and 2 is interesting as well, Blaiden.
Lamar Jackson was the MVP.
Yes. An award that's impossible to win if you're any other position.
Sure. But would you have given it to anyone else?
Like, Tyreek Hill had a better year than Lamar straight up.
But who's, like, you can be like, well, he had the better year, but I would have rather have had Lamar Jackson.
Well, then you get into positional value.
Sure. Which
I took into account some, but so you would rather have CMC over Josh Allen?
Probably not. I don't know.
I had Sauce Gardner on my list. Do you feel me?
Yeah, none of us had Sauce, so
I'm different.
You're
Sauce is different. I thought
I was the only one with Lamb. I was also the only one with Fred Warner. No Fred Warner love. Breaks my heart.
He's an honorable mention.
He is a very honorable mention.
Right.
I had Mahomes, Jefferson, Hill, McCaffrey, Garrett, Parsons, Williams, Allen, Jackson, Watt.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
I don't think anyone can get too mad at me for that.
I try to take into account a little bit of positional value, or maybe I just kind of think that I agree. You tweeted this out, like some of the top guys are just like at top positions.
Yeah.
Happens to be like the top edge rushers are ridiculous right now, and the top receivers are ridiculous right now. Like we have multiple guys every year who are like pushing to break 2,000 yards. Like it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
It's only a matter of time. I guess here's my question for you guys. What did you think about Tyreek Hill being the number 1 player on the list overall?
I actually don't hate that. I think it's like kind of fine. Like I can understand the logic of, again, we talked about, well, how do DBs rank receivers? And maybe they're like, well, this guy is literally impossible to guard because I can't keep up with him. And then a quarterback is thinking, well, this is like the best receiver I could possibly throw to because he's always open. And then receivers think he's just like, obviously, it's like him and Jefferson as far as like the 2 best receivers in football. So I just think he has so much respect from everyone that it's kind of hard for him not to make that number 1 spot.
Yeah, 112 yards a game led the league, 13 touchdowns led the league, 14 and a half yards every time he touched the football led the league. Like every efficiency number, he's an outlier. I mean, again, when MVP got handed out, Mahomes wasn't really in the conversation even. So again, if we're ranking, it's forgivable to rank Tyreek's season better than Mahomes' season in my eyes. Like, yes, Mahomes is a better player, but that's not exactly the criteria that everybody was working under, and that's okay. So to put him number 1 for the season that he had, like, yeah, he's on the short list. I think Lamar, Tyreek, McCaffrey, like those guys probably did have like the 3 best overall seasons last year. So I think it makes sense that those are the top 3 in the vote. Like Mahomes is my top player. I know who I would take. Like anytime you hand me a list, I would put Mahomes at 1, but it's
Mahomes.
It's
that
not
was
that.
The only thing that I did kind of debate, but then I was just thinking, well, you know, they played in the playoffs and the Ravens defense held the Chiefs scoreless in the second half and the Ravens still couldn't win.
Yeah, Mahomes is the best playoff performer maybe ever. So if you account the playoffs at all, like Mahomes becomes number 1, but that's not what everybody does. So I get it. It's fine. It's not something that upsets me. It's not like they put It's not like Bobby Wagner's number one, like it's someone who had a really great season. So
do we want to get into our Olympic event discussion? The way that we thought we were going to do this is we're each picking 4 events, our favorite events, and possibly talking about how those events have gone a little bit along the way in a draft style. So we're drafting Olympic events is what I should say.
Sounds good. Well, with the first overall pick in the Summer Olympic sports. So that's all I've got because that's what's going on right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We're only doing Summer Olympics.
I'm taking track. I guess I don't know. And I think that's all encompassing. Like I just enjoy all the track stuff that happens.
It is the best Olympic sport.
The gun sounds, especially the longer distance track stuff where there is a little bit of drama. There is a lot of kind of shuffling around in terms of the order over the course of the race. When you can kind of see someone hit a gear towards the back and really make a push for that first place spot. The Noah Lyles race was so electric. I just think overall track has given me the biggest stars and the most enjoyment in like the craziest races. So I'm going track number 1.
I should have just picked and given myself the first pick so I could have picked track.
Hesitation is a killer.
It is, man. But you're right. Track is absolutely the best Olympic sport. If any of you caught the men's 400 final, that was an electric race. What is his Hall? I can't remember his first name though. He was kind of out of it for a while too, just like Lyles was. And then he just turned it on the last 80 meters, had a great kick, was able to hawk those guys down. It looked for a minute in the first half of that race that we might be on world record pace because they got out in that first 100. They were flying. I think they hit the 200 mark in like 20, maybe 21 seconds. They came out of that last curve at like 31, 32. I was like, someone runs a really good last 100 here, but it's a 43.03 is the world record. So it's almost impossible to get. But they were cooking.
Right.
They were cooking in that 400. And I'm excited to see Sydney run the 400 hurdles here very shortly. But I have the second pick. And so I have to figure out now, I have to pick my second pick. And I think I'm going to go with gymnastics. I think that's going to be the obvious number 2. I was thinking either that or swimming, but gymnastics will be what I go with. And if anyone's been seeing, what the U.S. team has been able to put together with, Simone Biles, obviously. She's been outstanding as always. So I think just gymnastics in general is just a top tier sport.
Yeah, I completely agree. Simone and all them, they're doing something that doesn't even look possible.
Right.
Which I think is incredibly fun to watch. And they're all so competitive, but you can still like tell when somebody is doing bad versus good, Mm-hmm. Even if you haven't watched it that much before. And the U.S. does very well in it, which honestly, I'm not
just
saying
pick
like
the sports
it's what
that
makes
the U.S.
it good.
wins.
But if I like sports where the U.S. is competitive and then and like has a chance to win gold, I won't lie. I have my top 12 selections here ranked. I have been left my first 2.
Wow.
On the swing here, track is great. Gymnastics is great. That was 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 is going to be basketball, of course. The best Olympic sport, and then golf for sure. Both of those sports are so good that I watch them outside of the Olympics. And I know maybe the first thing you think of when you think Olympics is probably stuff like gymnastics that you won't watch that much more often unless you're really into gymnastics, or track unless you're really into track. But one of my favorite parts is seeing golfers or, Team USA and guys that I watch all the time and a different format like that going for gold at this awesome event. I'd say you could knock Olympic basketball because the USA, when they're full power, is just
wins everything.
Just crushes. But here's the thing: I'm actually a USA fan, so it doesn't bother me that much. And dude, I root for like the Panthers, the Hornets. Like I'm fine with it, man. It's cool. Like I'll take the win,
he's like, give me something to root for. Once every 4 years, Matt's team is the best in the world.
Right, and particularly this time around, like there's a lot of people to like kind of shut up, dude, with the USA team. So they haven't locked it in. They still got work to do. But like watching them win gold, I wouldn't be like, it was too easy. That sucked. I'd be like, it'd be awesome. I hope they win every game by 40. Really and truly, it means more to me if they can crush everybody, rather than like play a close, tough game. And as far as golf goes, I like golf.
Golf's cool. Golf would have been on my list at some point.
Golf was good.
Golf would have been like a sleeper late pick for me. I fear, but I would have picked it at some point.
You're watching golf over archery?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, like no question, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Fine. Blaiden, what's your next pick?
Oh yes, I do have next. I guess I'll get my next one, which will be swimming.
Absolutely, and that was my 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have to say anything that hasn't been said. I mean, when I think about Sydney McLaughlin and track, everyone keeps comparing the gap that she creates in the 400 hurdles to the gap that Katie Ledecky creates when swimming, right? It's like she is that far and away better than everyone else. And when you have that kind of dominance, it's just like insane to watch. So,
yeah,
I am going to go with maybe some random ones. I'm going to go with I guess it's just cycling in general, but specifically the cycling road race.
You can take all the cycling.
All right.
Cycling road, no. I'm with Theo on this one. I saw the guy that won, and he just like stood there with his arms wide, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's aura.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying just like, yeah, all of cycling if we're going to do all of track.
Oh, I thought you were like, Theo, you can have that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
Yeah, I'll take cycling. But yeah, specifically the road race. I think that it's such an aesthetically pleasing sport to watch. You just get these shots of the beautiful countryside. And then the other nice thing about cycling is the frequency that the finishes are just insane. And you feel a lot of payoff. A lot of these sports are pretty short. Like I like watching archery, but you know, I like it partially because it's over in 10 minutes. Like I know who won everything. With cycling, you get kind of these epic journeys, and then the finishes are just crazy when you get a rider who decides to go for it at the very end, and then people try to answer the bell, and you see if he or she can hold them off as like this pack is like coming in behind them. But like the finish line and like it didn't necessarily go like this at some of the cycling matches I watched this time, or cycling races, but like with the Eiffel Tower in the background and like people charging in to close the gap, it's pretty electric. So I'm going to take cycling, and then I'm also going to take Olympic soccer.
Very fair. Very fair. I watched a little bit of Olympic soccer. I'm not a huge soccer guy.
Neither am I.
You know, some people would say golf is boring, but then watch soccer. I think that's interesting, me personally.
Soccer clears so bad. It's so
yeah,
bad.
I mean, look, I'm not. I'm not thinking that golf is winning a popularity contest versus soccer or anything. But me personally,
thank God.
Golf is fun, man. Have you ever been?
Golfing? I've been golfing like once before. It's not golfing that I have a problem with. It's watching golf that I have a problem with.
Watching golf is fun.
Have you ever been to you've been to a golf tournament?
Oh, you know, it's
yeah.
Oh, that's true, but that's like for Gen Z. That's like Gen Z golf tournament.
Gen Z golf tournament. The Waste Management Open is just like
That's a pretty substantial.
I'm gonna start blaming
tournament.
your like attention span for not liking golf and saying that you have to be
just
like
an alcoholic of all ages golf event. You don't have to be Gen Z.
You gotta come back out to Ohio. We'll go to the Memorial Tournament, Theo.
Do people freak the fuck out and like throw all their shit on the green?
Not everything needs to be like that, bro.
But people do have crazy. If someone sinks like a really cool putt, people do like go a little crazy.
Now everything has to be a hole in one, bro. That's what this generation wants, dude. They don't want to see good putts or strong fundamentals. It's sad.
No one cares about strong chipping game anymore, you know?
No, it's sad.
Breaks my heart. But my next pick, I already took swimming. Can I also take diving?
I think so, yes.
Yes.
Then I will take diving. That is also a really cool sport, I think. It's just like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like a combination of it being aesthetically pleasing, but also it's over kind of quickly. And it's a little bit like gymnastics in the same sense. So I just think it's just kind of a cool watch. I don't know a lot of the big names in it, but it's just a cool watch.
That brings it to me for my last two picks.
Yes.
And these two are gimmies. Number one is tennis.
I should have taken it.
Yeah, tennis is awesome. I won't explain that one too much.
Yeah,
but my number two,
I thought tennis would make it better.
or my fourth selection and final selection.
Yeah.
I don't care. This does not count as part of swimming because that was clearly races. And it does not count as part of diving. Artistic swimming is awesome, dude. That is actually the
like synchronized
craziest
swimming?
event. Yes, dude. I think it's called artistic swimming by the Olympics, but I know.
Oh,
it's
yes, you're right.
as well.
Okay.
That is the craziest sport. I have no idea how they possibly do it. Where they like get in the water. I don't know if it was Team USA or whoever, and then they're like upside down in the water with like just their legs out and like doing something choreographed. And it's like, how are they moving? Like, how are they doing that? And you look because you can see under the water as well because of the camera. And it's like, dude, they're not moving. It doesn't even look like it's possible. It looks like a glitch or something. It looks like the Matrix for real.
The Matrix.
So, dude, it's seriously, go look up this stuff, dude. It's unbelievable.
I'm looking it up right now.
And like, how do they not disturb the water and mess each other up? It seems completely impossible, dude. It's like, I mean, when you watch something like a dance that is well choreographed, you're like, wow, that looks amazing. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, wow, that's how they're so synced up. It looks dope. They're doing that, but they're not even doing it like on a stage. They're doing it in a pool. It doesn't make any sense. So I think of all, like, I don't want to say of all because I probably like gymnastics better or track better, but it is one of the the niche Olympic events that people typically don't watch. That one is the one that shocked me the most.
That is.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's wild the athleticism people have in pools. Like, it's underrated how hard it is to just swim around and like how much more work it is than it is to stand on land. So to do anything in a pool is crazy. But there, I guess there's no but.
Blaiden, and brings it to your final pick.
It brings it to my final pick. I'm really upset that I didn't take tennis now. I don't know why I thought it would fall back to me. So I'm going to end up taking... I've been watching a lot of the beach volleyball, and that seems to be like a decently fun thing to watch. Because every once in a while you just get like a good rally going. And they
Volleyball's
can be
a good pick.
They can be pretty intense, like close games. So those are usually... I watched USA versus... I can't remember who they played, but that game came down to the wire yesterday. So I'll go with beach volleyball as my final pick. And then Theo, this brings it to you.
Yeah, I watched a beach volleyball game, and I saw like the craziest volleyball play I've ever seen, where it went out of the back of the line by like probably like 20 feet. And this girl like came out into a full sprint, ran under the ball and dove for it, bouncing it over her head and like back into play. It was such a layout save.
They do some pretty crazy athletic feats in beach volleyball just because like it's sand. I don't know. I feel like you could just like risk your body a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Theo.
And then I'm going to go with my last pick here. I'm going to do archery. I've been watching a lot of it. It's just been on, so maybe it's just a top of mind. But there is something simple about it. You just line up, you shoot your arrow, and you see who gets the higher score at the end. It's very easy to understand, and you can just kind of watch it over and over again, I feel like, without getting too bored. Like, oh, there's a 9. Will he match it? And then he either does or he doesn't, and it's fine. I'm a big cornhole fan. And it kind of reminds me of like cornhole at the Olympics. Like you either hit the target or you don't.
Right. Right.
And the lengths they shoot it at are so unbelievable. Like they're hitting these 10s, which is the size of like maybe a tennis ball, from like a football field away, like consistently. Yeah. So it's pretty wild how good they get, and just the simple, quiet drama of it all, I think makes it good to put on TV and good to watch.
I can't hate that.
I think that's completely fair.
All right, well, let us know in the comments. Did we leave anything off? Are we forgetting anything? Was anything snubbed? But I think we did a pretty good job of getting through most of the Olympic sports. What has been your guys' favorite Olympic event so far, if you've had one?
I like the 1800 meter sprint for track. I think, or is it 1400? I don't know enough. This is the only time of the year I watch track.
There's a 1500, and then there's like the steeplechase, which I think is 3000.
Okay, it must be 1500 then. I like that distance.
Yeah,
I liked the 1500 swim. That was pretty incredible. The men's, when I mean, it was like the world record. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did.
Yeah, the world record bar is like catching up to Fink, and it's like, oh shit, dude, it's actually going to come down to the last little bit.
Dude, and they swim for so long, like at full tilt. How?
That's insane.
And I saw he had a negative split on that too. He was faster in the back. I think that's completely insane.
How is that possible?
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. The amount you have to push yourself to be able to pull something off like that is wild, because it's not like, oh, I'm like necessarily pacing myself that much. I mean, you're going an insane distance against the best swimmers in the world. And you're able to pick it up after 750 meters is just nuts. So that was an awesome event.
Yeah. That's the same thing with like Theo, with you saying the 1500 in track. You know, you see guys, they run 3 laps. And again, like when people run, this is like a little under a mile. When most people are running like a mile, they're not running it at 3.5, 4 minutes, you know? Because that's what a lot of these guys are coming in at is, you know, really, really insane times. They're running like back to back to back 50-second 400s, and then all of a sudden they'll run like a 48-second 400. Like, Jesus. So
right, they have that next gear.
They're just completely unreal athletes. If any of you saw the 200 where who's the Gabby? What's her last name?
Thomas, maybe?
Yeah, Gabby Thomas won the 200. When she looked so happy crossing that finish line, man, realizing that she had won gold, I'm like, that is so cool. Like you always see people get excited, but to see someone just like so overjoyed was just like such a cool feeling. Winning a gold medal would have to be the most insane feeling in the world. Winning an Olympic gold, it's like to know that you are the best person in the world at that event is just unreal. But hey, that's another episode of Stay Hot. Maybe Stay Hot should win an Olympic gold medal for best podcast.
I think that's coming in 2032.
I think I heard that. Podcasting Olympics. But until then, until we're in the podcasting Olympics, thank you all so much for tuning in. And until next time, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.